Hey, hi everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hey, hi Sailesh. Hi. Uh, Very nice to see you all. Good morning. Good morning to everyone in India and good evening to everyone in US. I know we have some people from other continents as well. So very nice to have you all. Okay. So I'm still getting some messages in Discord. People are asking how they can join. Um, Many people are like, I think there are few who are trying to join the course now. It's pretty late, but yeah, let's hope they'll get enrolled. Okay, so let me just see all your messages. Hey, hi everyone. So okay, I see 85 people already joined. That's good. So hi Mark, hi Bhavesh, hi Manikandan, Batala, hi Tofi. Okay, Pavan, Hari, Syed, Swati, Sadineni, Krishna, Jilani, Richalin, Adarsh. Uh, okay, Mark, Syed, Yoga. Okay. So you are all able to hear me. That's good. Hi, Manoj. Hi, Fatima. Hi, Kola Bole. Okay. Hi, Sakti. So, uh, really nice to see each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining. I know in India it's pretty early. Okay, yeah, that's true, Rahul. Um, I think maybe it was during my college time. I used to wake up at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock to study. But I understand it's not easy to wake up at 5 o'clock for the class. But I also think early morning, if you want to learn something very effectively, then early morning is pretty good. So, and the reason you have 5 o'clock time is just because I'm in Malaysia, and in Malaysia it is 7:30 for me now, and I have my office starting at 9:30, so I have to go to office. So basically, this was the only time I could manage in the morning. Hi, Tim. So, Tim, are you the same Tim who were present in my last class? I remember few names. Yeah, okay. So good to see you again, Tim. Okay, so, okay, yeah. Hi, Ashish. Okay. Hi, Raimundo. So, hi from Mexico. It's good to see someone from Mexico. Hi, Lay, from West Virginia. Okay, good. Okay, hi Subbalakshmi. I'm sorry if I missed your names, but very happy to see you all. I'm just going to give. Okay, so we are still not. There's still 1 minute for the start time, right? But I'm going to wait 5 more minutes because today is the first class, and I know many people are still trying to figure out how to join the class. Uh, I hope they'll figure out in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to wait for 5 minutes. If you want to ask me something, you can ask until we start the class. Okay. I'll just be looking at my Discord and my Telegram chat just to see if anyone is struggling with joining. Okay, just give me a minute. So I'm just going to send maybe a photo of this. I'll just, if anyone is struggling, they can see the class is already started. So. Just give me a couple of minutes. I just want to message in the Telegram group because from the last few hours, I'm seeing so many messages, people asking how to join. So I just want to send a final message. Okay. So I'm not going to look at the mobile again. I hope everyone will join. Okay, so let me quickly see if you asked any questions. Um, okay. Editing the scripts, we are also executing at our end in real time, or do we have to wait for a day? Gets updated. Okay, so Sandeep asks a very good question. So Sandeep, you can, whenever I'm executing a script, you can execute it at the same time. The only thing is, I generally share all the scripts, the data sets, the SQL queries at the end of the class. Okay, so because it's not like I have written all the queries already ready made and I have everything ready and I'm just going to read through everything, right? Many times I'm just writing the question, I have the data set, and then right in front of you, I'll be writing the SQL queries. And I don't know when I'm explaining what are the different scripts we will come up with, because even in my previous class, I have seen that I have provided a solution for an SQL query, and then some student here provided a different solution. Okay, and then we came up with another solution. So it can be that during the course, during the live class, we might come up with some scripts. So for that, what I do is, after the course, after the class is over, within the next 30 minutes of the session, I will attach all the scripts, data sets, and everything that I used in the session in two different places. Okay, one, I will attach that all the files in Light Hall class page itself, and the second one, I will send it in the Telegram group. Okay, so you can then download it and you can refer to it. But when I'm making the class, when I'm doing this live class, of course you can write your own queries, because you will still be able to see the data set, you will still be able to see the tables, and then you can write the scripts. Okay, so I will give you some when I start, right? Maybe I'll start in the next 2 minutes. I'll just give you an overview of what this course is and how we are going to be learning everything. Okay. um, Yeah, so so we have Sorush and Sailesh here. Sorush and Sailesh are co-founders of Light Hall. So if you have any questions related to the platform or any feedback related to the platform, you can directly message Sorush or Sailesh. Okay, so any issues or anything, you can just tell them. Uh, okay, so regarding the Telegram group, I will tell you how to find that in couple of minutes. Okay. Uh, So I'm going to be installing one of the RDBMS today. It's not going to be MySQL, but I'll show you how to install an RDBMS in today's class. Okay, so fine. We have 195 members already. So I think we have over 300 registered for the course. But I understand many of them have taken the course because they want access to the recording and they may not be part of the live class. So I have a question here. I am from Boston pursuing my master's. I won't be able to join the class on Thursday till August 26. In case I have doubts, how can I get it cleared? I would be really okay. So fantastic question. And Subbalakshmi, what you can do is, if you, so it's not only for Subbalakshmi, anyone who might be watching the recording. Let's say you missed a live class. Okay, the recordings will be available in Light Hall within the next 24 hours. Okay, and what you can do is you can watch the recording, and then let's say you have some questions. Okay, you can then join my Telegram group and you can ask the question in the Telegram group. Okay, try to keep the questions very clear. Don't try to make it as easy as possible for the other person to understand. Okay, so yeah, and then whatever question you have asked, I'll try to answer it in the next session. So when you look at the next session recording, hopefully your question will be answered. Okay, and what I generally do is, I it's not like you cannot ask me questions in between the classes. You can ask, but several times if I think the questions are repetitive, and if the questions are from a very previous session, I try to answer the questions in maybe in the last 10 minutes of the class, okay, or the last 10 minutes or the last 15 minutes of the class, or I might stay extra 10 to 15 minutes to answer some specific questions, okay, so that we don't waste others time, okay. But whatever questions you have, you can ask me in Telegram group, or if you are part of my Discord, you can use Discord as well. The only reason I created Telegram group is because in Discord, I think we have over 2,500 or around 3,000 members. It's very good. It's a group where I see a lot of other people helping each other. Okay, but for this particular course, I wanted to have a dedicated platform, a dedicated group where only we will be part of that group. Okay, so we can share scripts, because in Discord I cannot openly share the scripts because not everyone has registered for the class, right? But in this Telegram group, I can share everything, right? So you can ask your questions in Telegram group. That would be the best platform if you miss to ask the question in the live class, okay. um, on which days, for example, day one, which topics will be covered, day two, what topics, okay. So Sandeep, so the second question from Sandeep is that each session have I decided what topics to do, right? Actually, I have decided it, but the thing is, even in my last course, I had done that, but it happens that some of the topics it takes more time to explain because I can get a lot of questions from you guys, and then I will end up spending a lot of time answering your questions, okay. And then the concept that I had planned for, let's say, for session 2, it might spill into session 3, okay. So there is no fixed concepts that will be covered in each session, because we will be randomly going through all concepts. And the thing is, uh, I have decided to have 20 sessions, right? And I believe 20 sessions is more than enough. But let's say if I'm not able to cover all the concepts in 20 sessions, I will add more sessions to make sure that I will cover everything, okay. So I'm not going to miss out on any concept. um, Okay, so fine. I think we are already 8 minutes into the start time. I'm going to start. I hope everyone who could join have joined. And let me start. Okay, so once again, I just want to say welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad to see already so many messages. Uh, Okay, so Shantanu is asking a very good question. Now, this live class, right? It's not like you cannot speak. So you can only see me and you can only hear me. But whatever you have to say, you can say it through the chat. Okay, so it's something like when you see the Facebook Live or these kind of platforms, right? So it's not a video conference call. It's more like a Facebook Live session, okay. So you can talk to me through chats, but you cannot basically speak. There is no voice messages here, okay. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen first. And just give me a minute, I'll just share my screen. Okay, so because I'm actually using a new laptop, so I need to, I just gave authorization to share my screen for this browser. So I'll need to quit this browser and restart. So I will be going off now, but I will join again in a minute. Okay, just hold on. Okay, so you guys can see me, right? Um, Now I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, fine. So let's start this class. I know it's already 10, 11 minutes past the time, but it's the first class and hopefully everyone has joined by now. So again, welcome everyone. Now I just want to give you some brief understanding about this course. So this might be some common questions that you might have. Okay. The first thing is, as I already told you, the recordings will be available on Lighthall within the first 24 hours. Now the next question is, where can you find a recording? So what you need to do is, so let's say what I'm going to do is, okay, so I'll just open a different browser and I'll go to maybe Lighthall. Okay, so in order to find the recordings, what you need to do is, if you have already logged in, okay, so I'm not going to log in here. Once you have logged in, if you right click on this, so basically if you click on the right top right here, you would basically see your name here. And here, if you click on this is basically a menu option where you would see all the different options, and one of the options will be classes. You just click on the classes and then you should be able to see my particular class. Then click on that class, and then inside that, at I think at the bottom of that page, you will see all the recordings. Okay, so this is where you can find the recordings. I hope that is clear. uh, is my voice clear? Ram says it is echoing. Are you able to hear me clearly, or is there any issues? Okay, it's clear. So, Ram, I think if you're the only person who is having issues, maybe you can check your speaker. Okay, fine. Thank you so much, everyone, for the response. It's very important that you guys respond. Okay. Okay. So this is about the recording. If you still are not able to find recordings, message me in Telegram. We'll try to sort it out. Okay. But look for the recording within the 24 hours. Don't after the session straight away. Don't go and find the recording. It will take up to 24 hours, maximum 24 hours, but it might be uploaded much before 24 hours. Okay. The next thing is, every single script, every single SQL query, every document, every data set that I will be using in the class, I will share it with you, and I will share it in two different places. Okay. One, I will share it in Lighthall itself. So again, what you need to do is log into Lighthall, go to the classes page that is on the right top. You will see your name, click on that, choose classes, then click on my class. Whatever class you have registered, you will see it there. Click on this particular class, and under that you will see there is a section for attachments. Okay, and under attachments you will see all the files that I will be attaching after each session. Okay, that's one place. The second place is, I'm going to attach all these documents, the scripts, in the Telegram group as well. Okay, I hope the files will be not too large to share. I think I can still share it. So these are the two different places I will be sharing all the files, and I'll generally try to share these files and scripts after each session and within the first 30 minutes of the session. Okay, so after I finish my session, within 30 minutes, hopefully all the files will be uploaded. Okay, good question from Ramya. You cannot download the recordings. Okay, you can only watch the recordings on Lighthall for up to 6 months. Okay, so it's going to be 6 months from the day that recording was uploaded. Okay, so if the recording is uploaded today, then from today up to 6 months. For the 20th session, which will be conducted in September 15th, right? That its recording will be there for 6 months, starting from September 15th. Okay, I hope that's clear. um, okay, so next, format. Okay, what type of classes are we going to have? So I'm going to start SQL from scratch. Okay, you might already know that. So it's going to be, I'm going to start with how you're going to install your database today. I'm going to explain you what SQL is, what databases are. We'll start from absolute scratch. We'll look at all the SQL commands. Okay, we'll then start with the basic SQL queries. We'll see how to write basic SQL queries. Then we'll move into intermediate SQL queries, and then finally we'll move into complex SQL queries. How I want to conduct these classes is, I will be explaining all the concepts. Okay, first I'll try to explain the concepts, and then I'll try to write some SQL queries using those concepts. In some cases, I might directly write an SQL query and then explain the concept. Okay, but the intention is not just to write the SQL queries and not just to explain the concept. I'll be doing the both. Okay, and hopefully I will use SQL queries using some realistic data sets. Most cases I'll be downloading the data set from the internet. In some cases I will come up with my own data set. I'll also tell you a hack of how you can create your own data set very easily. Okay, so all that will be covered in the class. Uh, okay, so where did I go? Okay, so the most important thing about this class is that this is a live class, right? What is the advantage of live classes? You can interact with me during the live class. You can stop me, you can ask questions, you can ask me to repeat. It's fine. Okay, so utilize this, okay, because this is the main purpose of live classes. And more importantly, you also have access to a private group in Telegram where you can interact directly with me. Do not try to personally message me. I see some personal messages to me. Because I get too many personal messages, I generally do not reply to all of them, but I'll try to be active in the group. Okay, so if you have any questions, message me in the group and we'll try to sort it out. And many cases what happens is, some people will already know the answer to the question that you might be asking, so you don't have to wait for my answer. If someone already knows the answer, please try to help each other. Okay, it's a very important aspect of learning. If you want to learn even better, try to help each other, try to answer others questions, because by answering others questions you also will be improving your knowledge. Okay, so let's use that group. Not, it should not be a group that 300 people will ask question to one person. It should be a group where 300 people will ask questions and anyone who knows the answer can answer it. Okay, so let's have that kind of environment in the group. And also you can ask questions here, and if already someone knows the answer, you can answer it. Okay, because if there are too many chats, I might miss a question or two, and that's what I'm telling. Okay, now before I proceed, I see a lot of questions here. Thanks for the comment. Yeah, yeah, thanks, Satish. Okay, so cash questions in QA tab above it. Okay, so Saurush says that any questions that you might have here, right? There is another tab here, Q&A, and I see already 3 questions here. You can post your questions here. So maybe any general discussions, you can do it in the chat section. If you have some specific questions, then you can put it in the Q&A. So it becomes easier for me to look at this. Okay. Uh, Okay, so I see there are a couple of questions. Let me look at these questions. Can you also explain the thought process of every query? Yes, that is the intention. So when I'm going to write an SQL query, I'm not simply going to write an SQL query and show you the solution. I will explain you step by step why I'm doing that and why you should also be doing that, or what are the different ways of writing a query and what is the purpose of solving a query a particular way. Of course, I'm going to explain that. Okay, but let's say you don't understand something or you are expecting something else, you can stop and ask me. Okay, good question there. um, Telegram link has been expired, how can we join? Okay, so regarding the Telegram group, okay, now let me tell you where you can find Telegram group. uh, so so let me do one thing. I'll click on this join. Maybe I'll open it in another tab. So you can see my screen, right? So when you go to my class, so it's asking me to log in. Can I log in here? Let's see. Okay, so I have logged in here. So where you can find my Telegram link is, you just go to the class. Okay, so I opened this Lighthall class in 2 different browsers. Hence, there was an echo, so I had to close it. But what you can do is, if you go to the class page, you have 3 different tabs. I think the first tab is the About tab, where I have given you the description of the class. The next to that, you will see an Announcement tab. Okay, so can everyone see the Announcement tab in the class page? Okay, so under the Announcement tab, you would basically see the link. You can just use that link and join Telegram. Is anyone using that link? Is anyone not able to join? Answer already shared the link. I believe it's the Telegram link. Just click on that link to join the Telegram. And one thing is, it's not mandatory that you have to join the Telegram group, because I remember, I think, I don't know who it was, maybe it was Sandeep or someone who said he does not want to join all these chat groups. So it's not mandatory you have to join. It's just that if you join, you will get a platform where you can directly interact with me and every other learner. And also, there will be a lot of other benefits, but it's not mandatory. If you do not want to join, no problem. No, unable to join. So Kirti, what is the problem you're facing? When you click on the link, it's you're not able to join it, is it? Swati also unable to join. Everyone else, so Ansar just shared the link here. Can you try to use that link to join? Okay, so I see Ansar has shared a link here, right? Can you use that link and see if you are able to join? If you're not able to join, maybe at the end of this class, I will try to generate another link and I'll share it with you. Okay, but that's how you can join. Who just wants recordings only, not live class? Is there a way? Okay, so G is asking a question. If you only want recording and not the live class, then again it's pretty straightforward. You will have to register for the class. There is no special way to access only the recording. Register for the class, and then you don't have to join the live class, but you will get the recording within the first 24 hours. Okay, so again, already explained you how you can find the recording. So where can we find a Telegram group? Already Telegram group has been expired. Join only through Lighthall at the announcement tab. Okay, fine. Uh, okay, so 1 minute. Let me just open my Telegram and see if I can find a link. Okay, maybe I don't want to waste time now. So I'll do one thing. At the end of this, maybe the last 5 minutes, right? I'll try to generate a link again and I will share it here. And I'll try to put it in the announcement tab again. You can try again after the end of this session. Okay. So let's proceed. So what I was telling is, okay, I have already explained about the Telegram group, and one important thing is about assignments. After some of the sessions, I will be sharing some assignments. Assignments will basically be you will need to write SQL queries. I'll give you the questions, I'll give you the data sets, and I'll expect you to solve the SQL assignments in. And if you are not able to solve it, you can ask questions in the group, either in Telegram group, or you can wait for the next session and ask me questions. Okay, so this is all the basic things about this class. Now, what are the prerequisites, right? So the prerequisite is that I expect each and every one of you should have an rdbms installed in your machine. You need to have a computer, okay? Because I don't think so in your mobile you will be able to effectively install database or write SQL queries. It's always better you have a computer, and you need to install an rdbms. Now, there are several different RDBMS. The most popular RDBMS are these four: PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, and Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. Now, why do I? Okay. These are the most popular, but there are many other RDBMS as well, even cloud-based RDBMS. So any RDBMS that you are using, whatever you learn in this SQL course will be applicable to all of them. Okay. How I'm going to be doing these classes is I will primarily be using PostgreSQL, but to explain certain concepts, I will be using maybe some other RDBMS. Okay. And there might be some cases when a particular query might not work. The same query might not work in all the RDBMS. In that case, I will explain you different queries which will work for all these four RDBMS. Okay. Now you can install, if you already have some RDBMS installed in your machine, you can use it, no problem. You don't need to reinstall any other RDBMS. If you want, you can reinstall, no problem. I would recommend, if you ask me, I would recommend that you install PostgreSQL database because it's pretty lightweight, it's pretty easy to use, and it's also pretty new, and they keep on adding a lot of good features which kind of makes life very easy. And PostgreSQL is used in most of the major software companies today. Okay. And also in startups. So it's definitely a good database. Of course, you can use any other RDBMS as well. It's your own choice. Okay. Now, once you have installed RDBMS, you also need an IDE. IDE is basically a tool where you will be connecting to the database and writing your SQL queries and different scripts. Okay. Now, different databases we prefer different tools, different IDEs. Like we have pgadmin, MySQL Workbench, SQL Developer, or the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is maybe at the end, maybe when I have last 15-20 minutes, I'm just going to show you how you can install PostgreSQL database. Okay. And I'm actually using a Mac system, Apple system. But even if you're using a Windows laptop, the process of installing PostgreSQL and pgadmin is the same. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can do that. Just remind me maybe 15 minutes before the end of the class, if in case I forget. Okay, that I will show you how to install it, because it's very important that you have a database installed. Now, quickly, I want to know, is there anyone in this class who do not have an RDBMS installed in your machine? Anyone? Okay. So I see. So there are a lot of people who do not have database installed. Okay. Can you guys install RDBMS? You all have computers, right? So Anbar Hassan says he has some issues with PostgreSQL installation. We'll see how. Maybe I'll show you again how to uninstall PostgreSQL and maybe reinstall a fresh copy. Okay, later on in this session. Um, so when I say lightweight, right? There are two reasons why I say lightweight, because now I am actually using a pretty powerful laptop. Previously, I was having a pretty, I would say, not that powerful laptop. So what was happening is, whenever I used to use PostgreSQL, it was pretty okay. It used to not take a lot of RAM and memory and etc. So the system would be pretty fast. But whenever I used to use Oracle or MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server, I felt that they put a lot of load on your computer. If you are having a very powerful computer, then no problem, all the RDBMS should be fine. But let's say if you are having a normal computer and you have, let's say, 4 or 8 GB of RAM and you don't have a very powerful system, then I think Oracle is going to be pretty slow, because it consumes a lot of memory and it takes a lot of your processing time and etc. Okay, so I felt PostgreSQL was much faster in that case, but it also depends on what sort of computer you are having. And secondly, whenever I wanted to import a big Excel file or some CSV file which was having, let's say, hundreds and thousands of records, then PostgreSQL will do it like within few seconds. But I felt MySQL and Oracle would take a lot more time. Okay, so I felt PostgreSQL was much faster in that case for my general purpose when I am using it in my local machine, and that's why I say PostgreSQL. And also, PostgreSQL installation and uninstallation is pretty straightforward. So in future, if you want to uninstall it or reinstall it, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, that's why I just recommend PostgreSQL, and also it's very popular. Okay, in the last, I think, 5 or 7 years, PostgreSQL has been the most popular RDBMS. Okay, so that's why I say that. I go through SQL queries and practice them. I feel good about it, and then I try to write a query when needed. I'm just blind. Can you please tell me any way, come up with quick idea? Okay, so Ramesh asked a very good question, and I'm sure this is a question many people will be having. The only solution to that is you need to practice. You need to practice solving different SQL queries. And there are a couple of platforms that I highly recommend for practice. One is LeetCode and one is Stata Scratch. I am going to be solving some queries, some interview queries from those platforms. Yeah, so I think you just need to practice. Okay, so I think I'm let's get back into these. Any question that you have, right, put it in the Q&A tab here, and I'll try to answer it a little later. Okay, now I'm going to show you installation of this a little later. Now let's proceed with today's class. Okay, now what I want to do today is I want to give you an introduction about SQL databases and all the different terminologies that you should be aware of before you can start learning SQL. Okay, now before I can start, I want to tell one thing. The SQL codes that you are going to be learning from these 20 classes is going to be helpful if you want to become a software engineer, data analyst, data scientist, SQL developer, business analyst, quality analyst, and maybe something else. The reason is all these roles, right, will be working with some sort of databases. Okay, and SQL is the only language that you can use to interact with a relational database. Okay, so no matter what you are planning to become, if it is in the IT field, then SQL is going to be used and SQL is going to be very helpful for you. Okay, in some roles SQL will be used a lot. Okay, in some roles SQL may not be used a lot, but in because mm, I forgot their name, but there was one person who joined my last class. He just got a job. Okay, I remember it was Diana. I think Sorush remembers because she was looking for a job. She joined my last SQL course. She just got a job, and what she tells is, in her job, she's not having the opportunity to write a lot of SQL queries. But her, I forgot what her role is, but her role needs her to read a lot of SQL queries and understand them. Okay, and based on that understanding, I think she needs to do some analysis, or I don't know, something. Okay, so it can happen that you might end up getting a job where you may not be involved in writing a lot of queries, but you may have to look at a lot of SQL code. Okay, SQL procedures and functions and queries. And by from this course, you will not only learn how to write SQL queries, but you'll also learn how to understand and read an SQL query. Okay, because when you have a very complex SQL query, it kind of becomes very hard to read. From where do you start understanding the query, and how do you interpret different joins, and when you change a particular join, or when you change a particular condition, how does the entire query result change? Okay, we'll try to understand the science behind all of this during these courses. Okay, so hopefully whatever role you will be getting in future, or whatever role you are doing now, SQL, what you learn in this course will be helpful. Okay, next I want to ask a question to you all. Can you tell me what is your purpose of learning SQL? I just want to know, like, why are you learning SQL? Are you a student who is looking for your first job, or are you in a non-IT job and you want to move into an IT job, or maybe you're already using SQL in your role, but maybe you are not that comfortable or confident. So, what is your intention of learning SQL? Okay, so good question from Adarsh. Adarsh, this kind of question, try to put it in the Q&A tab, okay? Because I can then explain it at the end. So I'll explain that difference between SQL and PLSQL. If can, just put it in the Q&A tab. Okay, I want to be more proficient in SQL, brush up again, data analysis. I want to be professional in SQL, become a data engineer, IT job. Okay, looking to switch, aspiring data analyst, data engineer, data scientist. Okay, so develop database. I'm already data analyst, want to learn more about advanced topics. Okay, okay, fantastic. So I think most of your answers, I see you guys want to get into data science field, right? You want to become a data analyst or data scientist, data engineer. I think these three, data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, are the, I kind of, it's kind of like the most hot jobs right now. Uh, there are a lot of openings and very good salaries. Not only I think in US, also in India, the salary of these jobs are pretty high. Lot of vacancies as well. So, okay, I understand why you want to learn SQL. Now let's move ahead. There are few terminologies you should be aware of before you can learn SQL. Okay. Now I could have started this class by straight away telling you what is SQL. Okay, but in order to understand SQL, there are certain other things you need to first understand. Okay, so you need to understand what is data. You need to understand what are databases. You need to understand what is RDBMS. Is RDBMS and database the same, or are they different? You then we can look at what is SQL. Okay, and then we will see in SQL how does actually SQL work. Okay, how data is stored in the database, and what are tables, and what are columns, rows, etc. So these are all the terminologies that you should be aware about, and I'm going to explain that. Okay, so I'm going to start explaining you all these concepts now. But before that, I think I don't have to tell you this, because from this class, I already see the number of messages that you guys are sending, and how active each and every one of you have been. It's fantastic. Okay. And let's try to have this same enthusiasm towards this class until we finish our entire course. Okay. Because as I told you, the only way I can interact to you in this class is by your chat. So whenever I ask you a question, try to be pretty active. Even if you answer wrongly, it's fine. Okay. And any questions you have, you can ask. Any doubts you have, or you want to me to repeat a particular concept, you can ask me to repeat a concept. And in case I miss your question, because let's say there are too many questions, or I miss it, then try to repeat your question. Okay. So try to be interactive. Now let's start by understanding first and foremost, what is data? Okay, now I have already given you some explanation here, so I'm going to hide that. I'm going to ask you, can you tell me in the most simplest terms, what is data? Anyone? Information. Okay, so Lay, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrongly. Okay, so Lay says information, Jyoti says numbers. Okay, information, raw information, information collection of info, collection of like information. Data contains information, records, raw, unprocessed information, storytelling, structured, unstructured. It's a record. Okay, most of you guys are telling it's information. Okay, collection of information, raw fact. Anyone else? Most of you guys are telling information. Maybe there is a better definition. Okay, so Hari gives a very good. So I'm just going to highlight Hari's answer here. So Hari tells everything can be considered as data. If it gives meaning, then it is information. I think it's a pretty good definition for data. Now, the answer is anything and everything can be data. Okay, information, yes, it is data, but a non-information can also be data. Meaning, so let's say you have you have some meaningful information, maybe your name, your address, or some bank account details. All of this is data, right? But let's say in other hand you have some garbage, okay, or some log file where you have like mm, 1 or 100 pages of some garbage values entered, okay, and there is no meaning to that. Even that is considered as data. Okay, so data does not have to be an information. Data, information is data, but a non-information, any garbage value can also be data. Okay, so in simplest of terms, anything and everything can be data. So your name, your address, the details about the computer that I'm using, its configurations, it's all data. Okay, so let's say for a bank, okay, so let's say for a bank, what is an information or what is a data? So for a bank, all the details about their employees, all the details about their customers can be data. The address, the location of the bank can also be data. Their financial details, right? The whatever profit they have made, how many loans they have given, and what is their revenue, and etc., right? All of that is also data. Okay, also anything related to, let's say, bank name or the bank code or anything also can be data. So for a school, information about their teachers, about their students, the subjects they are teaching, etc., all of this can be data. Okay, so if you look anywhere around you, whatever you find, it can be considered as data. Okay, so then comes database. Okay, now you have all this data. So let's say when you go to Google, you search for a term. So let's say you're searching for tech tfq. Okay, when you search for tech tfq, you'll get some results, right? Whatever you have searched for, Google is going to save that. Okay, because Google is going to use it like data. Okay, and because if you, there is an option that you can find out what is the most searched term in the last 6 months or in 2022 or something like that. How does Google know that? Because every time you search something, Google is going to store that information. Okay, every whenever you search for something, whatever results show up, it is showing up because there is a database that has stored some information, and that information is getting shown to you for a particular search query. Okay, so everything is data, and in order to store this data, we need a container. Okay, and that container is called as a database. So database is just a container that stores data. Okay, in your home, if you want to store, let's say, snacks, you can have a box or a container, right? If you want to store milk, you will have some vessel or something, right? So whenever you want to store something, you would have something like generally a box or whatever, right? Same way, if you want to store data, we need to have database. Okay, database is the only place where you can store data. Okay, so that's it. In the most simplest of term, database is a container that stores data. What is data? Data is anything and everything. Okay, every information, every non-information can be considered as data. Okay, this is very important to understand. I hope you get this understanding in your head, okay, because we'll be talking about databases a lot during this course. Okay, now many times even me included, and many times even I think others, they would be referring to databases and rdbms. Okay, can anyone tell me, for in your own words, what is the difference between database and rdbms? Do you guys know? Anyone? Okay, so Kiran tells whatever we read, write, and listen is data. That's pretty good. Okay, so Kirti tells software of DB. RDBMS is relational database, structured data. I'm asking what is the difference? Yeah, so RDBMS is relational database management system. I want to know what is the difference between RDBMS and database, or are they the same? Anyone? Database is storage, connecting them, rationally manage them is RDBMS. Okay, pretty good. Data is stored in the form of tables. They're not same. RDBMS is database, used RDBMS to have faster access. Okay. 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 Fine. Fine. So, okay. RDBMS. I somewhere RDBMS is a software to create and manage database. Okay. Okay. It's good that you guys are having some understanding about rdbms and database, and most of you guys understanding is pretty correct. Okay, now you can see this diagram here, right? This basically explains you what is rdbms and database. Okay, now I'm calling this as dbms. You can treat it like rdbms. Okay, now RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. As the name says, it's a management system. Okay, it's going to manage something. And what is it going to manage? It's going to manage a database. Okay, now you can see here, I told you database is basically a container that stores data. That is the only purpose of database. Database has no other purpose. Whatever data comes to it, it is going to store it. And whenever someone is going to ask to return some data, it's going to give it. Okay, basically, database is a container, and all the data is stored in that container, that is database. Okay, now as a user, let's say me, I go to Facebook, I want to find a friend. Okay, so I'm going to search for, let's say, Ramesh. Okay, so I search for Ramesh Kumar, and when I search for Ramesh Kumar, I'm going to enter that Ramesh Kumar somewhere in the UI, right? The Facebook interface, right? And that interface or that UI is basically an application. Facebook is an application, right? That web application is basically what you see here. Okay, as an user, okay, we go to a user, we go to an application. It might be Facebook, Google, or whatever application that we want to use. We go to the application and we ask something. Okay, we might ask a question. Let's say we go to Google and search for let's say TechTFQ, or we go to Facebook and I want to search for Ramesh Kumar, or I go some other website and so you go to Lighthall and you want to search for all the data science courses currently available today in Lighthall, right? So you can search for that. So whatever you do in your application, that is this part. So as a user, we only have access to this part. We cannot see the database, we cannot see the rdbms, we only can see this application. So we only have access to the application. We go to the application and we do what we search for something, or we ask for something, and whatever you ask here or whatever you search here, this thing is then sent to the rdbms. Okay, so this rdbms is something that sits in between the application and the database. Okay, this application is going to understand what you are asking for. Okay, once this will understand, it will then interact with the database to actually return what you are looking for. Okay, the reason why we need this rdbms is because as an application we cannot directly go to the database to ask what we want. So let's say I want to know, so let's say I want to get the what so I want to know what is the currency conversion for $50. Okay, so in order to get the currency conversion for $50 today, I can ask that here, but that result is only stored in this database here, right? In order for that to come to this application, This RDBMS is basically the middle person who is going to first understand, Taufik is wanting to know the conversion of $50 into INR. Okay. And then it's going to interpret this request into a language that the database is going to understand. And then database is going to return a value. And then RDBMS is going to return that final result into the user or the application. Okay. This is what happens in every application. No matter which application you are using, this is what happens. As a user, we have access to the application. Internally, there is an RDBMS and there is a database. Okay. And RDBMS and okay, now let's come to the next part. Okay, because in order to complete this, you need to know this SQL part. Okay, now how do this application and RDBMS interact? They interact with one language called as SQL. Okay, now let's say if I wanted to, if I'm going to Germany, and if I wanted to, I go to some government office and where everyone only speaks Germany. If I wanted to, let's say I want to ask something, the only way I can interact with them is in the German language, right? So if I had to ask something or if I wanted to get something from them, I have to interact with them in German because they don't know any other language. So I have to learn German. I had to ask them in German my specific question, and only then they will be able to answer me, right? This exactly is SQL. SQL is also just a language, nothing special. Okay. The only thing is SQL is a language that this RDBMS will understand. Okay. So when I want to search the currency conversion of $50, I can I can just put it like $50 to INR, how much, right? But internally, the application or the system, whatever it is, it's going to convert it and it's going to ask that question in the language that the RDBMS will understand. And in this case, the only language that RDBMS will understand is SQL. Okay. So let's say you go to um, I don't know. Okay, so maybe you go to Light Hall or you go to some website, you want to create an account, you enter all your details, your name, your email, and everything, and you click submit. When you click submit, what happens is all this is information is sent into RDBMS. RDBMS will know that we need to save this data, so it's going to convert this into something like an insert script. Okay, in insert script is a way that SQL is going to store the data into the database, right? It's going to convert that into this insert script, which is actually part of SQL, and then it's going to send that into the database, so data gets stored into the database. Okay, so what is SQL? SQL, you can call it like structured query language. That's what it stands for. And many people pronounce SQL like SQL. So you can call it like SQL or SQL. It's up to you. In the most simplest of terms, SQL is just a programming language, or it's just a language that RDBMS understands. Okay. So whenever you want to do any operation with the database, you want to store some data, you want to retrieve some data, you want to fetch some data, you want to modify some data, you want to delete a database, you want to create a database, or any operation, what you want to do with the database, you will need to go through RDBMS. And the only language RDBMS understands is SQL, and that is why you need to learn SQL. Because when I want to do some operation in the database, I will need to tell tell database to do this particular operation in the SQL language, because SQL is the only language that can be used to interact with the database. Okay, so this is what SQL is. Uh, is it clear so far? Did you guys understand what is data, database, and SQL? Okay, so Adam is asking, is SQL the only language that RDBMS understands? And the answer is yes. For RDBMS, SQL is the only language that it understands. When it comes to a non-relational database like MongoDB or some other non-relational database, you can interact with them through some other means as well. But we are not going to be covering non-relational database. This course is only about relational database and SQL. Okay. Okay, so anyone who is not clear, yeah, so Digital Tech Connect tells Cassandra, HBase, some other non-relational database. Okay, so anyone who is not able to understand data, database, and SQL, because these are pretty simple, but this is kind of like your foundation. Okay, you need to understand the base before you go into writing SQL queries. Difference between DBMS and RDBMS. Okay, database DBMS is basically a database management system, and RDBMS is relational database management system. So I told you that there are two types of databases. Actually, there are more types of databases, but the most popular two type of databases are relational database and non-relational database. Okay, so we generally refer to RDBMS to interpret relational database. Okay, so when you tell DBMS, it might mean relational or non-relational. Okay, but when you tell RDBMS, it's very clear that we are only talking about relational database. Okay, and that's why I say RDBMS, because we are learning SQL, and SQL is primarily used in RDBMS, but there are some non-relational database who also use SQL slightly, but we'll not be covering that. SQL has no connection with regular database. Loot for, I did not understand. What do you mean by that, loot for? If possible, can you also give some info? No. No SQL, I'm not going to be covering in this course. I've actually made a YouTube video where I have explained basics about non-relational database. Maybe you can check that. It's not going to be part of this course. MongoDB is not RDBMS. MongoDB is a non-relational database. Can SQL be used for non-relational? In some, okay, so can SQL be used for non-relational database? There are certain non-relational database who use some form of SQL, not the SQL that we will be learning, some different type of SQL, but they can use it. Role of RDB. I already explained the role of RDBMS. It's basically an interpreter that sits in between your application and your database. In your application, you're going to ask questions. You want to modify some data, you want to submit something, you want to create an account, or whatever you want to do, you do it here. This is then going to get converted into the language of SQL, which the RDBMS will understand, and then RDBMS will interact with the database, maybe to store the data, to retrieve the data, or whatever, right? So RDBMS is something that sits in between database and your user and your application. Okay. SQL will be intermediate between app and RDBMS, or RDBMS and database. So SQL is just a language that RDBMS understands. Okay, as an application, maybe it's Google, Lighthall, or Facebook, or whatever. Whenever you raise a request, so when I say you want to create an account, you want to submit something, you want to search for something, you type it right in your own language. You type it in English, right? Internally, it gets converted into it needs to search for that particular thing in the database, and when it needs to search for something in the database, they need to convert that question that you have asked in English into an SQL language. So if you want to create an account, it will convert whatever information that you have given. You're only going to give your name, email ID, phone number, etc., right? But internally, the system is going to create an insert script, which is going to insert everything into the corresponding table. Okay, so your English question that you have asked in the user interface gets converted into an SQL language by the RDBMS, by the application, which is then sent into the RDBMS, because RDBMS will only understand the SQL language, and then it kind of does the operation, whatever it needs to do with the database. Okay. Okay, so difference between relational and non-relational database in the most simplest of terms is, okay, I'm going to come to that, okay, because I think I have something. Yeah, so I'm going to explain you relational database. So when I'm explaining that, maybe I will tell you what non-relational database is. So whatever changes we do by SQL query, it changes in a, so whatever SQL query that you write, right? It might be a select query, it might be an insert script, delete script, or maybe something else. Whatever you do, it's going to reach to the RDBMS. RDBMS is then going to do what going to interact with the database in order to do the actual operation. So if you're doing an insert, then RDBMS is going to accept the data that you have sent, and it's going to load that data into the database. But let's say if you are doing a select, then RDBMS is going to read your select query. It's going to understand. It's going to do some basic checks to see if the syntax are right, if the tables that you have given are correct, if the column names are correct, and etc. After it does this basic checks, it's going to then see, okay, so you want to fetch a particular value from a particular table for a particular filter, and then it's going to understand this. Then it's going to go to the database. It's going to go to that particular table and fetch the specific data that you have asked from your query, and then it's going to return this data into the application. Okay, so it's just a mediator. This diagram, if you just look, I think you will understand. Um, just go through this once. I think you will understand. So pretty straightforward, nothing complex. Only thing is RDBMS sits in between database and application. SQL is the only language RDBMS understands, and the application that we generally use, any application, that application is going to convert our simple English request into a script in SQL, and then it's going to send it to RDBMS. Okay. Um, DBase and data warehouse. Okay, so where does RDBMS storage area cache area processing the query? Does RDBMS have storage? Yes. So all of this, how the storage happens, the everything will be there. So the database will have there will so the thing is what, different databases have different architecture. Okay, Oracle has a different architecture, MySQL has a different architecture. So when I say architecture, it's basically the design of the database. Definitely there has to be a storage area because data has to get stored. There has to be some cache memory because there will be some processing done through cache. Sometimes the SQL query processing will be much faster because the data will be fetched from the cache itself rather than going directly into the storage area. But I'm not going to go deep into the science behind the architecture of a database, because this course is not about the database structure and its architecture. It's more about SQL. You just need to know that database is used to store the data, okay, and to retrieve the data from the database using SQL. Okay, can you please tell me where can I practice SQL queries? You said some websites. Okay, so you can practice SQL queries in Lead Code and in Stata Scratch. You can also use, there's one very popular, uh, what is that called? Hacker Rank. So you can also use Hacker Rank, I believe. So, yeah. And someone asked about data warehouse and what is the difference between data warehouse and database. It's a pretty good question, and it's pretty, okay. So let me try to explain the simplest of way. Database is, so generally what happens is, um, data warehouse is also a database. Okay, so the only difference is, uh, database is basically, so let's say, okay, so for example, I will give you example of the own company, my current company, okay, where I am working. We are actually building a data mart is basically, you can treat it like a data warehouse. So we are building a data warehouse. Okay, what we do is, database is something where everyday transactions, okay, any transaction that happens every day, and it's been happening for years and years together, every single data, whether it's a useful data or a useless data, everything gets stored into the database. Okay, so everything comes and stores into the database. So database will basically have each and everything. But when it comes to a data warehouse is something that is designed for a specific purpose. Okay, generally we build data warehouse for reporting. Okay, so let's say we want to build a system for reporting. Okay, so we have some new reporting requirement, and for this particular reporting, we only, so let's say your database is having 1000 tables. Okay, and they are having millions and millions of data, but for this new reporting that we are building, we are only interested in maybe 50 tables, because only from these 50 tables we want the useful information to get retrieved. So in this data warehouse, what we do is, we only retrieve the 50 table that is needed for this particular reporting, and we only pull in the data that we need. We don't pull in each and every data. There may be certain filters that we can apply to pull in the data that we need. Okay, so data warehouse is also a database, but data warehouse is built for a specific purpose. In most cases, it is mainly used for reporting or for analytics purpose. Okay, so data warehouse is not going to have all the data, but database is going to have every single data of your company or of your bank or whatever, right? So that's the most simplest difference. And in many cases, some of you guys might be working in data warehouse, but even if you're working in data warehouse, you will still be using SQL, because data warehouse is also a database. Okay, uh, okay. Now, the difference between database and columnar database, I'm not going to explain much into this. It's just the way how data is stored in database. In relational database, data is stored in tables. In a columnar database, there will also be tables, but the data is stored in a columnar manner. I think one very good example is Snowflake. Okay, I think in Snowflake the data is stored in columnar way. I don't want to explain that in detail, because It's going to confuse a lot of other people. Okay, let's stick to database and relational database. Let's not go into non-relational database. Yes, Redshift and I think Snowflake are pretty similar. Both are cloud-based data warehouse. Okay, so let's not go into all of that. Let's stick to what we want to cover in this course. Okay, so I hope everyone understands SQL, data and database. Let's proceed. Okay, now how data is stored in RDBMS? I see 1 minute. I think there are a few questions. Okay, there are already 30 questions in Q&A tab, and we are already 8:30. Uh, okay, so I want to what and all we have here. So we have this, this, and this. Okay, maybe I'll do one thing. I'll try to quickly explain this. Okay, and then I'll try to answer the Q&A later. I also want to show you how to install the database. Okay, okay. So how data is stored in the RDBMS? Anyone? How data is stored in the RDBMS? Okay, correct. Shifa says table, and that's exactly correct. Data is stored in tables. Okay, so I told you that all the data is stored in the database, but it's not like that every data is taken and dumped into the database. Database will have several different database objects. Table is one of the object. What are the different? Okay, what are the other type of database object? Anyone is aware? Table is one type of database object. Okay, weave is another database object. Anything else? What other? Schema is not exactly a database object. It's more like kind of like a part of the database. Synonyms, yes. Triggers, yes. Index, yes. Procedures, yes. Package, yes. Functions, yes. Okay, constraint is not a database object. Okay, but anyways, most of you guys materialize views, yes. Okay, perfect. So these are all different database objects, and the most important database object is a table. Okay, what is a table? Table is basically an object that stores data. Okay, so in a relational database, every single data is stored in a table. Okay, that's the most important thing. Now, how does a table generally look? This is how a table looks. Okay, so you have multiple columns. A table should minimum have one column. Okay, table may not have rows. That is okay. If there is, each row here means one record. Okay, there can be tables with zero records or zero rows, but at least one column has to be there. Okay, and this is basically what we read. Okay, so this vertical line that you see here, this is a column. So this is column 1, column 2, column 3, etc. And this horizontal line here is what we call like a row. Okay, or we call it like a record. So I can call it like a record or a row, both are the same. Okay, this is how data is stored. Okay, now let's continue in a relational database, right? The most important thing is that so let's say we have a school database. Okay, so in a school database, we will have information about teachers, we will have information about students, we will have information about the subjects that are taught, we will have information about the attendance, about the location of the school, and so many different things, right? Now it does not mean that all of this information or all of this data is stored into the same table. Okay, that's not how relational database is meant to be. Okay, in a relational database there will be multiple tables. Each table is going to store data specific to a particular purpose or a need. Okay, so information about a student may be stored in one table called as a student table. Information about teachers will be stored in a separate table called teachers table. Information about a subject, will all the subjects that are taught in the school will be stored in a separate subject table. Information about all the let's say attendance or marks, they will have their own tables. Okay, so that is how data is scattered across in a relational database. But the important thing is all of these tables will be related to one or the other tables. Okay, that is why it is called a relational database. Why? The data is stored in the database, but it's a relational database, meaning that data is stored across multiple different tables, but all of these tables will be related to one or the other. Okay, and that is why, because these tables are related to one another, that is why they are called as a relational database. Okay, now in a non-relational database you would generally not have tables. Okay, in some non-relation table database you have tables, but the thing is data is not, you don't need to store related data, you can just store any type of data. Okay, like data which are not related, and the way how data is stored in a non-relational database is completely different from a relational database. I'm not going to go in depth into that. I have actually explained that very neatly in one of my very early YouTube videos. You can look into that, because different non-relational database have different architecture, different way of storing data. Some store in tables, some store in files, etc. Okay, so in a relational database, data is stored in tables, but multiple different tables. Each table would be related to one another. And a simple example is, you can see here, each of this picture here represents one table, and this arrow mark here just tells that which table is related to what. Okay, you can see that this table is related to this, and this table is related to this table is related to this table is related to this, and so on and so forth. Okay, so different tables will be related to one another. You will understand this better when I'm going to actually create a database right here. Okay, maybe in the next class we'll create a database, and we'll load data, and that time we'll better understand. But generally this is the basic structure. Okay, and this is one example here. Now let's say I have this relational database, and let's say I have three different tables. Okay, so I have the customer table, I have the order table, and I have the product table. Okay, now if you look carefully, you can see that I have the customer ID, I have the name and the age. Then in the order table, I have order ID, date, customer ID, and product ID. And in the product table, I have product ID, price, and currency. Okay, now can you guys tell me which table is related to which other table in this database? Can you guys tell me? Data is stored in the database, not RDBMS. Okay, customer and order is related. Okay, customer and order, customer table related to order table through customer ID. Okay, order and product is related. Okay, product and orders. Okay, okay, so most of you guys are telling customer and order table is related, and product and order table is related. Customer, order, product, all are related. Okay, so upper Reddy says all are related, and that is the correct answer. Okay, the thing is, we have learned in mathematics, right? When a is equal to b and b is equal to c, then a is automatically equal to c, right? The same thing applies in you can apply in a relational database. You can see here, I have a customer ID in the customer table, I have the product ID in the product table, but in my orders table I have both customer ID and product ID. So what this means is, i can I can say that customer table is related to the order table using the customer ID column, because I can join these two tables using the customer ID table, and I should be able to get the matching records, right? The same way, I can also say that the product table is related to the order table using the product ID column. So this means customer table is related to order table, and product table is also related to the order table. So meaning that all these three tables are related to one another. Okay, that is what we tell. So when you look at a relational database, if there are 100 tables, it does not mean that I need to have a key for each of these 100 tables in all of these 100 tables. That's not going to happen. Okay, you'll generally have key of only one table, but this one table might be related to some other table, and through that key you will be able to relate it to some other third table or fourth table. Okay, now this, if you are getting confused about this, don't worry, we are going to look at all of this with proper examples by creating constraints and so many different things. But I just wanted to give you an overview. Okay, relational database, multiple tables, data scattered across multiple different tables, all tables will be related to one or the other, and generally this is just an example of how you can see that. Okay, now the most important question that I want to answer in this class is, I know this is something that we have to explain to you in the very beginning. If you want to learn SQL, the very first question you will get in your mind is, okay, I want to learn SQL, but should I learn SQL for MySQL? Should I learn SQL for Oracle? Should I learn SQL for PostgreSQL? Or should I learn SQL for Microsoft SQL Server? Or it might be something else. Okay, Snowflake, Redshift, I don't know, many Teradata or so many other databases. Okay, the simple answer is, these four are four different RDBMS. Okay, but all of these four RDBMS basically use SQL as their language to interact with the application and the RDBMS. Okay, so all the four RDBMS, or you can say any other popular RDBMS, they all use SQL. Okay, and there is a SQL ANSI standard. Okay, I think it was This ANSI standard, I think it was developed by some. There is some ANSI organization who basically set some standards for SQL. I think around 20 years back or something. So all of these RDBMS use the ANSI SQL. Okay, so they have a standard that they need to follow. It's not like MySQL can build their own type of SQL, Oracle can build their own type of SQL. No, they cannot do that. They need to follow the standard SQL. And because of that, if you learn SQL in any of the RDBMS, whatever you learn, you will be able to apply that learning in any of the other RDBMS. Okay, so you don't need to learn SQL specific to a database. Of course, if you know that in your particular job you are using a particular database, then definitely use that database. Okay, but even if you learn SQL using some other RDBMS, whatever you learn, you will be able to apply it in any other RDBMS. 90% of the SQL is going to be same across all these RDBMS. There may be 10% difference. The difference mainly will be not in the syntax. The syntax would generally be the same. The difference would generally be in some functions. Okay, some of the functions would be supported only in MySQL, and some of the functions would only be supported in MS SQL. Okay, for example, if I have to do a date format in Oracle, I have something called as to_date. But in MySQL, I don't have to_date, but I have something like date_format. Okay, so these are the certain differences, but the syntax, the concepts, everything is the same. If you learn materialized weave in Oracle, the same concept will apply for PostgreSQL also. If you learn weaves in MySQL, the same concept will apply for MS SQL as well. Whatever you learn, the constraint, the foreign keys, the primary keys, everything is same across all these RDBMS. Okay, so I will primarily be using PostgreSQL, but no matter which RDBMS you are using, it is going to be applicable to all. Okay, wherever there will be a difference, I will try to convey that in the class itself. Okay, so is that clear? Any questions so far? Okay, good question by Apparedi. Which database is used by most companies? Now I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to give you that answer with a proof. Okay, now there is a website. Okay, I think it is database engine. Is it database engine? Yeah, DB engines. Okay, so if you go to this website, okay, this is a website which basically ranks all the different databases, not only relational database but also non-relational database. So if you look into this, right, now I think I'm looking at, okay, these are basically all the databases. I think I can only choose relational. Okay, so I'm just going to click relational database. Okay, now when I click on relational database, this is basically telling you the most popular relational database in the world. Number one is Oracle, number two MySQL, number three Microsoft SQL Server, and then PostgreSQL, and then there are so many other RDBMS. Okay, and I think you can see the growth. You see PostgreSQL is growing, whereas Oracle is actually losing its market share. Okay, but I think there must be somewhere here. You can also see in the last 5 years, PostgreSQL is actually one of the most popular. Okay, and just by this, to answer your question, I think who asked this question? Apparedi, right? So Apparedi, you can refer to this website. You can share this link here if you want. Okay, it's a good website because sometimes if you want to learn a particular database, and if you want to learn the popular databases, you can just refer to this website. There are a lot of other information here as well. Just go through this. Okay, but as you see, these four are the most popular, and you can see how many how many companies have been using that. All this information you can get. Also, this non-relational database also you can get. So if I look in general, right, including relational and non-relational, you can see MongoDB is the most popular non-relational database. Okay, so you can see that here. Okay, so where were we? So suppress MS SQL, MS Access. Where is MS Access here? The reason why this MS Access is still present here is because in many years back they used Microsoft Access extensively, right? And these old systems, they have not migrated to the new system. They are still basically supporting the legacy systems. And the same thing with Oracle. A lot of these banks and financial institutions only used Oracle many years, I think 10 years back, and they are still continuing to use Oracle because that's what their system is built on. Okay, so even though PostgreSQL would have better features now, still, because from these financial institutions are, they will not easily change a database, okay, because they have very confidential data and they need more secure database, etc. That's why Oracle is very so widely used. Okay. Okay, now I have 15 minutes. What I'm going to do is, I could have showed you how to install database. Okay, I'm going to ask you, should I show you how to install a database or should I answer these questions? I have 35 questions here. Just tell me, because I have only 15 minutes left. Installation or answer the questions? Okay, so let's do one thing. I'm going to show you the installation now, and then I'm going to answer the questions. Maybe I'll stay 5-10 minutes more to answer the questions. Okay, so everyone is selling installation, so let's go ahead and do the installation. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you the installation for PostgreSQL, because that is what I would recommend. If you have any other RDBMS, continue to use that, no problem at all. Okay, so in order to install PostgreSQL, first thing what I need to do is, I think I already have PostgreSQL here. Yes, I have it. So I need to uninstall PostgreSQL. So first of all, let me go ahead and uninstall PostgreSQL. Okay. Let's see if I still remember how to uninstall it. Um, what I need to do is, I think I need to go to, okay, I'm in Mac. So I'm going to show you how to uninstall it here. So I go to library here. So I have PostgreSQL here. I have version 14. So I'll install, I'll click uninstall, and yeah, so I'll enter my password. Okay. So I'm just going to uninstall first and then I'm going to install it. It's actually pretty fast, okay? It takes very less time. So I'm going to remove the entire application. So you can just observe what I'm doing. If you have questions, you can ask. Now the uninstallation is complete, but you see they're telling some of the files have not been removed. Okay. So that we need to manually remove. So what I do for that is, I go here. This file is still there. So I'll just delete it. Okay, so this is deleted. Now what I need to do is, I need to find any other place where PostgreSQL was installed. So I checked library, and I think I need to go to users, and here library. So do I have Postgre here? I have pgadmin now. If I go to application support, so I have pgadmin here. So I'll delete both of these pgadmin things, and I have no PostgreSQL here. I think that's all. Then I need to go to application. Here, I think there is PostgreSQL, so I'll delete this as well. Not delete, I'll move this to bin. Okay, and then pgadmin. So where is pgadmin here? So I don't have pgadmin. So what I'll do is, I'll just remove this pgadmin from here. Okay, so everything I have deleted. I'll remove this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I'll just empty my recycle bin. Okay, so now I'm going to install. So I have uninstalled. So let me search pgadmin. Okay, now it's not showing up. So what I'm going to do is, I'll go to my browser, and here you just go to the PostgreSQL website, that is postgresql.org. I'm using Mac, but even if you're using Windows, the process is the same. Okay, so go to this website. I'm going to share this link here. Okay, go to this website and then click on download. Okay, so you can click on download here, and here you would basically need to select your operating system. Okay, so I'm using Mac, so I'll click on Mac. But let's say if you're using Windows, okay, so I'll click Windows here, and you see for Windows there is only one way of installing it, and that is by this. So interactive installer by EDB. So what you need to do is, you just click on this, download the installer. When you click on this, I think a file will get downloaded, and then you just click on that and install. Okay, the same thing will happen for Mac. So I'm just going to click on Mac. When I choose Mac, I have different ways of installing for Mac. So I have the same thing, that is interactive installer by EDB. Okay, the second method is, I can use the PostgreSQL app. I also can use Homebrew, and I can use few other methods, but I'm not going to use other methods. I'm going to use this interactive installer by EDB, because this method is going to be common for Windows and Mac. Okay, so you can see how it would be in Mac or Windows, both it's going to be the same. So I'm just going to click on this, download the installer. Okay. So when I click on download the installer, I'll get this, and you can choose any version you want to install. I'll try to install the most latest version. Okay. But let's say if you're using a very old system and you're using Windows, which is having 32-bit operating system, then you may need to choose the version 10, because you see version 14 is not supported. Okay. So if you're using 32-bit system, try to install some older version. If you're using 64-bit, then I think you can click on this. So I'm going to use this Mac OS X. So I'll click on that, and I think this should install, this should download the DMG file. Okay, so can you please show how MySQL RDBMS looks? Okay, MySQL, I'll show you. I'll just open it and show you. PostgreSQL both and PostgreSQL both on one system works. Suraya, I did not understand your question. PostgreSQL both on one system works. What does that mean? Okay, so the download is complete. So I'm just going to click on that. So something should open. You double click on that, and this should basically open your installation tab. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this, and I'll just say, so then it's all simple installation. So just click on next, next. Here you will get these four options. So of course, we want to install the PostgreSQL server, and here I also have the option of installing pgadmin. So I'm going to choose that because I also need this tool. Okay, and then you have this command line, and this will be useful in certain cases. So I'm going to keep this command line. This stack builder is some additional features that you can get. I will not choose it, not really required. So I'm going to uncheck it, okay, because it takes kind of a little bit of space. So I'm just going to remove that, okay. And then I click next and next, and okay, so it's asking now I need to enter a password, and this password is very important because when you later after installation, when you connect to pgadmin, if you want to connect to the database, you need to use this password. So I'm going to give a password, and I need to remember this password. Okay, so always remember, don't give some password and forget about it. Try to remember that, and this can be as it is, and everything stays as it is, and just click next, 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 and installation. It's going to be very fast. I think. Okay, so let's just wait. Okay, dbeaver is just a tool like pgadmin, but I think with dbeaver you can connect to all these RDBMS. But I'm not sure if dbeaver is free. I think dbeaver you need to pay for that, right? Uh, it's also a tool. You can use any tool you want. Okay, so it's completed. So I'm going to click finish, and I think it is done. And now what I need to do is, so if I click my application, maybe at the time I did not show. Now you can see that I have this PSQL. This is the command line shell. And if I go to the right, you'll see all this PostgreSQL installation, and pgadmin also is here. Okay. So I'm just going to click on pgadmin, and let's open pgadmin now. So this is how easy it was to install PostgreSQL. Okay. The same is going to be in Windows also, nothing special. Okay. So just try to do that today. If you're having any issues, then you can ask me tomorrow in tomorrow's class. Stored only table object reference, stored only object reference. All the data is stored in the databases, Digital Tech Connect. Um, so data is always stored in the databases. RDBMS is just a management system. It will manage the database and the application. Okay, it sits in between the application and the database. Anytime data is stored, or anytime you want to retrieve the data, they are always stored in the database. RDBMS does not store anything. It's just a management system, or you can call it like an app. It's an application for the database. Okay. Okay, so let me enter the password that I gave during installation. Sometimes, right, what happens is, I should have shown you, you might enter a password and it might throw some error. In that case, you have an option of reset master password. You can click on reset master password, give a new password there. Okay, so I'm going to now connect to a database. I have two different versions of the database installed. So I'm going to open PostgreSQL 14. So you see, just I clicked on this. I see I also have version 12 installed. I'm not sure how did this come. Is it part of that 14 or uh, today, right? When you guys install this 14, let me know if you are also seeing both these servers, that is 12 and 14, both these versions. Okay. Okay, so now once you have installed this, if you come to this database section, this is where you will see a database called Postgres. Postgres is the default database. If you want, you can create a new database by right click here and uh, creating a database here, or we can create a database through script. We'll try to do that. So what you do is go to Postgre, right click on this and click on this query tool. You see this query tool, just click on this. This will basically open a window where you can write your SQL scripts. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, okay, so I'm just going to see if there is any data in this database. So select star from information schema dot tables. Okay, so I see this basically is the database table. I'm just querying to see all the, these are, you can see in this, even though this is a new database I created, these tables are already there because these are the table that is used by the database to maintain the database. Okay, these are all the database related tables. You should not be doing anything with these tables. You should be creating your own tables. Okay, now, okay, so I think this is how you have installed. I'm not going to do anything extra here. All these scripts and everything we'll do it in the next class. Is it clear? Pretty straightforward, right? Nothing too complex here. I cannot really see your screen. Hey, why can't you see my screen? Is anyone not able to see my screen? Okay, so everyone, right, just try to install a database. It is the most important thing because 20 sessions, if you only listen to me, you might think that, oh, I understood everything. But then when you go and write the query, you will not know anything. Okay, the reason is every time you learn something, you need to practice. Okay, practice is the only thing that is going to make you learn SQL. Okay, or for that matter, any other programming language. Okay, so I think I still have a couple of minutes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to base table and fact table. I think you're talking about data warehouse. It's not really part of this course, but I think you're talking about dimension table and fact table in data warehouse. But we'll cover that if we have time. Okay. Now I'm just going to go to this Q&A tab. Okay. I'll just see any question that I can answer. So we have 2 more minutes, but I will be staying a little longer so that I can answer your questions here. Okay. Okay, so I think all these questions I already answered. Every time I go through SQL queries, okay, this one I already answered. The scripts that contains data sets are compatible to all RDBMS, especially Oracle. I have Oracle, would like to use the same. Yes, Sandeep, the scripts that I will be sharing, it will be compatible for all the RDBMS. In fact, what I'm going to do is wherever there is a changes, I'm going to give you a script in all these 4 RDBMS. So I'm going to give you separate scripts and separate data sets for Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and PostgreSQL. In case there is a difference, if there is no difference, then I'm going to give the common script. Okay. Every time I go through SQL queries and practice them, I feel good about it. Hey, Ramesh, same question repeat, but I already answered you. You just need to practice. The only way you will get comfortable, the only way you will be able to solve problems is by practice. I would highly recommend once you complete my course, go to Stata Scratch, go to Lead Code, go to Hacker Rank. They have a lot of free questions. You don't have to purchase any subscription. You just solve all the free questions. Okay. Once you solve all the free questions, I'm sure you are going to be feel very confident. After you have solved free questions, then maybe you can, if you want to practice more, you can purchase a subscription and solve the other questions. Means optimizing queries. Shantanu, I did not understand this particular question. What do you mean, means optimizing queries? Required for data analyst. What does that mean? To gain necessary skills to become a business analyst, which would help me to change my career. Okay. You're asking about what you're telling about why are you learning SQL, right? Okay, fine. I'm a RPA developer, but my role would be data analyst, hence I want to enhance. Okay, fine. Can you please also cover in your SQL topic, how about optimized SQL queries? What is the effective process way to optimize the long running queries? Okay. Uh, in this course, I'm not going to be covering performance tuning, but what I can do is at the end, right, once I have covered the complex concepts, maybe in one of the sessions, I will give you 5 tips or whatever uh, on how you can improve your query performance. Okay, but this course I have not. If you look at the course content, performance tuning is not part of this course. Okay, but I will give you some hints at the end. What is the difference between SQL and PL/SQL? Okay, good question. Um, SQL is basically what we already saw. It's just a language that you interact with the database. Um, PL/SQL is also the same language to interact with the database. But what is the difference is PL/SQL is an extension over SQL. PL/SQL is a procedural language over SQL. Okay. The thing is, initially only SQL was developed. Okay. But later on, what I don't know, someone realized that you cannot do everything in SQL. Okay. Whenever you need to build some complex logics or do some really hard task, SQL was not able to do that. And that is why they came up with an extension over that SQL and they called it like a procedural language. Why? In this procedural language, in PL/SQL, you can create procedures, you can create functions, you can create packages, you can create many other things. Okay. And when it comes to procedure, inside a procedure you can basically build an entire complex logic. A procedure can include your SQL queries, your DML statements, your DDL statements, and so many other things. Okay. So PL/SQL is a procedural language over SQL. SQL is just your normal structural query language. Okay. Um, Inside PL/SQL you can use SQL, but in SQL you cannot generally use PL/SQL. So when as part of PL/SQL, mainly we have procedures. Okay, inside procedures you can write a whole script. So it's similar to like how you would write a Python program or a Java script or something like that, right? You can do a lot of operations inside a procedure. Okay, so in the simplest of terms, uh, PL/SQL was introduced to add more features to SQL. Okay, things that you cannot do in SQL, you can do it using a procedural language, mainly using procedure. Okay, that's mainly the difference. A set of information. How is SQL queries executes? Means which part of executes first in SQL statement? The first executes where clause, where from clause, then select. Okay, I'm going to talk about this particular question that Kashif is asking about the how SQL statements are executed. What is the sequence of execution? Which command executes first? Everything will be explained when I'm going to cover SQL queries. Okay. DBMS means relational database. Anyone can access at the same time. Okay. Difference between this one I already answered. Is database a flat file? RDBMS is structured to maintain. Okay. So when I have installed, so what happens is since I installed RDBM, okay, now the time is up. If anyone wants to leave, I already see 197 people already available here. If you want to leave, you can leave. I'm not going to be covering any other concept. I will just answer these open questions. Okay. So, but if you are okay to stay 5 minutes more to listen to these answers, you can stay. Okay. So it is a flat file because I installed the database here. So basically, whatever is getting stored in the database is getting stored in my system. In my system, everything is stored through files. So you can call it like a flat file. Okay. Um, will you share the slide? Yes, I will be sharing the slides after this class. What is data warehouse? I already explained that time. LeetCode does not have PostgreSQL. While practicing with MySQL, LeetCode convert. LeetCode does not have PostgreSQL, is it? What does LeetCode have? I think LeetCode had PostgreSQL. Oh, I think LeetCode has Oracle, right? Oracle and MySQL and Microsoft SQL Server. But that's fine, right? You There will be not much difference. And maybe I should have told you. Even I started my career with Oracle. Then I moved to a company who were using Microsoft SQL Server. I learned Microsoft SQL Server. Basically, in 1 week, I was comfortable with Microsoft SQL Server. The differences were very minor, actually. And now I'm using PostgreSQL. Not much difference at all. Um, okay, can you teach about triggers, please? I couldn't. Triggers is not part of this course, so I will not be covering it. Let's say we have a database of 10 tables, out of which 8 tables are related to one another and 2 are not related to any other tables. Would this data still be called out? Yes. So it's a very good question asked by Raj. Okay. You have 10 tables, 8 are related, 2 are not related. It can happen, it will still be an RDBMS, but there should be some reason why you have these two tables, right? And it happens even in the job that I'm doing, we have such tables. There is no link between certain tables with any other tables, but we use that table for
certain purpose. Maybe they are a reference table. They will be storing code and description, or status and description, or something like that. So we can have such tables and they'll still be relational database. Fact and dimension table, part of the data warehouse concept, so I will not be covering that here. Okay. um, is PostgreSQL not more secure? Not more secure. What do you mean by not more secure, just now? Can you also please show quickly MySQL? Okay, MySQL. When you say show MySQL, do you just want to see? Because I have this MySQL workbench installed here, so I can just show you. This is basically the MySQL workbench. It's just a tool. Installation of MySQL is also very simple. If you want, you can use that as well. And I think I can just connect. So I have already connected and show tables, show databases. So you can see some results. So this is how MySQL Workbench looks like. And I will not show the installation of this because I'll not primarily be using this. I'll primarily be using PostgreSQL. If you want, if you're having issues with MySQL installation, then let me know in the next class. Okay. Uh, will both PostgreSQL can be installed in the same system? Will both? Yes, you can install in the same. So you can see that I have installed MySQL Workbench. I have also installed pgadmin, and I have also installed Oracle. So you can install in the same machine. Okay, Telegram link. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to. Can you do one thing? Whoever is not able to join the Telegram group, right? Just message me in Discord or in LinkedIn. Personally, you message me in Discord or in LinkedIn, okay? And give me the email ID that you have used to register for Lighthall. So I'll first verify if you have actually registered, and then I'll try to add you to the Telegram group, okay? Um, yes. Covered. PLSQL is not covered in this course. Please update us a topic which you are going to cover so that we can revise. So, Deepak, the thing is, you just look at my course content, everything, it is in sequence. So, I'm going to start from the beginning. So, if I go here and if I go to my website, where is my website? Okay, so if I go here, you see the course content, this one. So the first class I wanted to explain this. Then I wanted to go to SQL commands, and SQL commands I'll go in this sequence, and again everything in this sequence. So you just look at this, and depending on how much I'm able to cover in each session, I will proceed from here. Okay. PLSQL is not covered. I'm using Office laptop and though downloaded, not able to install as it asks for user and password without being. Okay, I'll give you a simple hack, Priyanka. If you're using Office laptop, right, when you're doing an installation, what you do is when you're doing an installation, I think you will be asked for option to either install for all the users for your entire system or to install only for your user. Try to choose only your user because in that case, you just need to provide your username and your password. Okay, try to do that. Okay, it actually works. Trust me because I have done that in the past. Will you interview covering questions will be most probably sufficient to uh, I will be covering a lot of interview SQL queries, and I will give you some other questions. You need to refer from some other platforms and from websites. I think they should be pretty good for you to clear interviews. Can you teach about triggers? Please can I find syllabus? It is. I'm not planning to cover triggers in this course, but I'm planning to make a YouTube video about it. Let's see. Okay. Installation of PostgreSQL in Windows quickly, please. I already showed you the installation in Mac. It's going to be the same for Windows 2 also. It's exactly the same. There is no difference at all. Are you going to teach about stored? Yes, I will cover stored procedures. Lead code doesn't have Postgres. I already answered this. Can you repeat what's the meaning of the script you written? Which script I wrote? This script is it? If you are looking for this, I'm going to explain that I'm going to explain about select queries in the future class. What projects will we develop using SQL? So I already explained here. When I have SQL project, I'm basically going to I'm going to download a data set from the internet. Okay. I'll tell you. So basically, you can download any data set. I'm going to choose maybe one data set. I'm going to upload that data set into RDBMS. Okay. We'll then analyze that data. We'll see if any cleansing of data is required. If cleansing of data is required, we'll try to do that. and then we will try to answer some. We'll try to solve some problems on that data set. Okay, so I'll come up maybe with 10 or 20 different SQL queries for that particular data set, and we'll try to write SQL queries. Okay, so it's not, SQL projects are different from Python projects or Java projects. Okay, don't think like SQL projects are going to be same like that, because SQL project, this is the only thing we can do. We need to get a data set, we need to analyze the data set, clean the data set, load the data set, and write SQL queries on that data set. That is the project that we will be doing. Non-procedural language. What is non-procedural? I don't know what is a non-procedural language. Is it possible to use share class recordings on your registered email? No, I cannot share the recordings in my email. The recordings will be more than 2 GB, and anyways, we will not be able to download it. I can see in this course you are not covering views triggers. Do you have any other course in Lighton which will cover? Okay, for views I have made a YouTube video. You can refer to that. I might cover it. It's not part of the syllabus here, but if required, I will cover views. Triggers I'm not planning to cover, but I'm planning to make a YouTube video in some time. So maybe you can refer that. Okay. Can you suggest any book to practice to SQL queries? Book, I'm not really familiar with good books, Hari. Let me get back to you on that. Okay. Are we going through user defined functions? Yes, we will go through user defined functions and stored procedure as well. Installation of PostgreSQL one more time, please. In order to install it again, I need to uninstall it again, man. Now already time is up. Can you watch the recording? In the recording, you'll anyway see it again, right? Can I use Groom IDE by initiating MySQL content instead of installation? I'm not really familiar with what is this Groom IDE, but you can use any IDE you want. If that IDE is going to connect to a database, then well and good, you can use it. While installing, it says something about server. It did not show while you were downloading it. What about server, Abhishek? Can you send a screenshot of that in the Telegram group? Do I need to learn commands in parallel for all RDBMS? What do you mean by that, Sayada? Like, what commands you want to learn in parallel? So everything that I will be covering in the classes, right? You try to just learn that. That should be pretty good enough. I'm unable to open PostgreSQL after installing it. Try to uninstall PostgreSQL and then try to install it again, man. Maybe you did some mistake during the installation initially. Can you brief about TSQL? Now, TSQL is just an SQL that is used by Microsoft SQL Server. So, Microsoft SQL Server, they call their SQL as TSQL, okay, Transact SQL. But it's the same SQL that we will be learning, okay. Can we use same data for SQL Developer and Post? Yes, you can use. Can you can you give brief over and what is it? Overview of advanced SQL concepts. So everything I have explained here. Who is that? Harshvardhan. So Harshvardhan, all the advanced SQL concepts I have mentioned here. Okay. So if you want overview, I'll give you the overview only when I come to that. Now I cannot give that because I need to start from scratch, right? Straight away, I cannot go to the complex concepts. Can you please tell about TSDB? What is TSDB? I'm not familiar with TSDB. What is that? Do cover some problems related to data engineer, problems that covers transformation step of ETL. Okay. Um, I'm not really included this in part of the course, Abdul, but let me look into that. Okay. Okay, so I think time series database. Okay, so I'm not really familiar with that, Suryakant. Uh, okay, so I think that's all for today. We have finished. I think I covered these questions. Okay, so I'm going to end the class now. Were you guys able to understand everything? Any questions or any feedback that you have? In tomorrow's class, we'll start with the SQL commands. I hope you understood the what is that, the basic things about SQL, the most foundational things that you need to know: database, data, RDBMS, tables, how data is stored, etc. Okay. From tomorrow, we'll start with SQL commands and we'll start writing some scripts. Okay. Um, I hope it is useful. Do let me know any feedback that you might have. Okay. So thanks. Okay, it's good that you like the class. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. Digital Tech Connect. I think you need to put your name, man. Digital Tech Connect. Difficult to pronounce your name. Okay, thanks everyone. Um, Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tofi. Okay, so I think I'm going to end the class. We are already 15 minutes past the time. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording now. And okay, I'll stop the recording now.